What's up? Good to see you on this Wednesday morning. How's it going? Hope it's good. I have an easy challenge for you today. It is a photography challenge. So, photography isn't often covered in elementary school art. One, because we can't get cameras for all you guys to experiment with. That's a little bit too much. Photography is usually a special class that you could take during summer camp or that you can take when you're older in middle school or high school, depending on if your school offers the program. So I know some of you guys do have phones and you could do this challenge on those phones today. You could maybe politely ask your parent if you could borrow their phone, or if all else fails, you can always use your imaginary camera. So let's talk about some basics of photography to get started. Now, most people think, oh, when I take a photo, all I have to do is just point and snap, or selfie and snap. But the interesting thing about why photography has been so successful and people who photograph and are artists, how they become successful is how they photograph something in the first place. It's not a point and snap, it's actually a very calculated method of things. So, one of the first most basic rules of photography is called the rule of thirds. It says that if you were to take a picture, imagining that this is through my camera lens, and you were to put a grid 3 by 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 over that picture, then you should not be putting your subject in the very middle square. And that's kind of the biggest thing that people get wrong when they first start photography, if you're doing it as an art form and not just for fun. So what we don't want is our subject to be in the middle square. The middle square, the very, very center of the picture, is actually really boring to our eyes. When we see that, we kind of just want to look away from it as fast as we can. Because we're like, it's a picture. Okay, no big deal. But what the rule of thirds tells us is that if we simply shift our camera or shift our subject a little bit over, either up, down, or to the side, then our picture becomes much more interesting. And we want to keep looking at it. Also, we can make it even more interesting if we put it in between these quadrants. So, if I were to draw my subject crossing over into multiple quadrants, then my picture becomes even more interesting. This is the rule of thirds, and it's one of the most important basic pieces you have to know about starting photography. So, this is what I want to challenge you today to do. When you are taking photographs with your imaginary camera, your real camera, maybe your parents' camera, is think about the rule of thirds. Whatever your subject is, try not to put it in the middle of your picture. And then you can always practice with some other types of photography. Focus. Focus is how clear or how blurry something is in a picture. You know how in some cameras, when we focus on something, for instance, certain fancy cameras will focus on a face for us and it'll blur the whole background out? That's focusing, right? And some cameras have more fancy features than others, but basically, focus at its very basic is how close or far away you are from something. So, if I'm really close to my subject and a background is really far away, then my subject is going to be in focus and not my background. You could also play with lighting today. Obviously, we know that pictures turn out a little bit better when it's brighter, but we also know that pictures don't turn out too great when it's super bright, right? It gets white and blurry and all messed up and grayed out, and if it's too dark, we can't see the subject. But, extra special challenge for you, there's something called the golden hour in photography, and it's when the sun is about to set. It's said to be the most perfect lighting that you can get of any photo if you're outside. So if you want to head outside, if you can today, around 6 or so when the sun is starting to set, try and take a picture then. I bet it'll turn out really, really good. So think about focus. Think about lighting, distance, how far away or how close are you to your subject. And if your camera happens to have some fancy effects that you can put on it, maybe some color filters or something, by all means, explore that. Find an interesting subject and take some cool pictures. I'll show you some examples that I took today so that you have an idea. Find cool backgrounds. You can use anything from toys to things that are outside to even things that are living with you, like your pets or your family. That's my challenge for today, and I hope you guys have an excellent